Divorce, a heartbreaking situation which about 40% of Canadians go through. And the average age at which this happens is 47 years old. That means that they've had time to build their families, their wealth, their investment. And by investment, I also mean real estate. So what happens when you get divorced? You can't just split a house in half and everyone goes their own way. To help us answer some questions, we've brought in our expert, Michel. Michel has 36 years of experience in real estate, and he's pretty much seen it all. So, hi, Michel.
Hey.
When it comes to divorces, I'm guessing the first thing that comes to mind is emotion. There's a lot of emotion that goes into this. What are things that you've seen and mistakes that people end up doing just out of emotion?
Well, sometimes they act too quickly, and often there's one person that's really hurt in the middle of the divorce, and the other person, they've had time to prepare, and maybe they've been thinking about it for more than a week, might be a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, some people. But in the process, there's a lot of emotion, definitely.
And another question that I would have in mind is how does it happen? Is it just each person gets their own agent or person to represent them, or can a real estate agent represent both parties?
Yeah, so an agent could meet with both, and especially if that individual is neutral. Sometimes they bring both their own realtor. The issue that comes in there is the realtors, they both want to be involved in the process long term. What I mean by that is if the house is to be sold, well, realtors, they're going to want to represent and sell the house. So they're sort of in competition against the other realtor. Ideally, like what I find is when I'm the only person that's called, I sort of make sure that I've got both their best interests at heart. I don't pick sides. Okay. And because my job is, to talk about the real estate, about the asset they have.
Wouldn't it be better then to just deal with one person? If I'm looking at it from that point of view, where you're not trying to pick side, you're just trying to play a fair game. Why would someone not want to do that?
Yeah, well, sometimes the person who called me, for instance, the other person who didn't call me, they don't know me.
So they're thinking
they might think I'm picking sides. And right away they feel like, their back is against the wall and their partner is out to get them with a friend.
Yeah. So. Okay. No, I get it. 36, 37 years of experience in the industry. Have you seen a divorce situation where, like, an example of something that you would have avoided or that was a big mistake?
Yeah, well, so I had one situation where they had a lot of equity in the home, and they basically kept, suing each other before even putting the home for sale, and even to the point where the lawyer bill was, it basically almost took all the money, all the equity they had, and they had several $100,000s of dollars, wow. But it was just not a good situation. Fortunately, they both ended up trusting me to a certain degree. Like there was, at one point, I could sense that, one person was questioning, but that was a bad situation. I ended up selling the home at a good price at the end. In that one, I was almost acting as I was listening to them and again, not picking sides, but they were sharing all the reasons why the partner was not nice. And my
that's
job.
Not why I'm here.
No. Well, it's not. But at the same time,
you have to listen.
Well, and I want to listen. I want to support them, and often both people have, good. They have their own point of view, but they're not necessarily in the wrong as much as the other person believes. Now sometimes they are. Sometimes, unfortunately, there's infidelity often is one of the big issues. And
if you have 5 years, 10 years of things built up, they might have something that you don't know about that they've built up, and then there's no amount of common sense. It's just I just want to win. I want to win by getting more out of this. And then you're do you feel like you're stuck in the middle at some point, or How do you try to handle these situations?
Yeah, well, it does happen where I am in the middle. Usually it's a happy ending though. Like usually I'm able to calm them down, and my job is really to get them the absolute most money for the house if they end up selling it. But they don't, and it's not always about selling the home. Sometimes one party can buy out the other party.
Okay.
And then, so I can help them in that process. And I don't charge them for that. And it's something I recommend more often than not, if financially they're able to do it. And if they want to stay there, because sometimes if it's the person that, like let's say someone, ended up cheating on their spouse, and maybe the other person doesn't want to keep the home. They just both want to sell the house, right? And just start fresh. So every situation is different.
Is there ways to get this done as quickly as possible? Not everyone wants this to keep going for, let's say, a year. What would you suggest?
Well, normally, like lawyers will be involved, of course, and I always recommend to get, their lawyer, to talk to their lawyer. But it's important that they choose a lawyer that see what their goal is of their client, their individual client, and hopefully not drag things out. The case I was telling you a while ago, where there was so much money spent on lawyers, I feel that, like the lawyer was, not that they were unethical, but they were trying to make a point and win a certain amount of money, because there's not just the house involved, right? Like if there's children involved and someone has a pension and, so it could be child support, one person earns more money than the other, one person stopped their career because they were raising their children. So there's a lot of other things that the lawyers will help them with. I have absolutely no experience in that. But my job is really, on the real estate side of things, listen to them, make sure they're, suggest that they get the right advice. Yeah, and when they say something that doesn't really make sense, well, I try to calm them down.
So what I'm getting out of this is a lot of choose the right professionals, not necessarily about the fields, but like just the right professionals, like whether it's lawyers or real estate agents or whatso, is just try to find the perfect people that can help you through this situation. How do you find these people?
I've got different lawyers that over the years that, I always recommend 2, 3, 4 lawyers, and they should call and find the person that they feel comfortable with. So interview the lawyer, ask him questions or her questions, and take it from there. And the same with a real estate agent.
It's a hiring process.
Yeah, interview the realtor, ask questions. Do you feel comfortable? Are they knowledgeable? Are they, are they there for you? Yeah.
What are other things you would suggest while going into this? Okay, there's a divorce, and then you have to go through these steps. Are there any other things that you could share?
Yeah. So let's say now they've decided to sell the house. So if they've decided to keep the house, that's different. But if they've chosen to sell a house, we want to get as much as possible for the home. So we bring in a professional stager. They'll give them tips on how to prepare the house to get the most money. We talk strategy about pricing. Do we price it high? Do we price it, at lower? Do we price it in the middle, at close to market value? So there's a bunch of different conversations that we have. Timing, what day of the week do we put the house on the market? Do we hold back on offers? Do we try to create a multiple offer situation? But those are all normal things I would talk with the average seller, whether they're getting divorced or not. So everything else still applies in this situation.
Okay, so the process stays the same, whether you're divorced or not. It's just step number 1, take all the emotion out. You have to get to the point where you can take all the emotion out. The faster people can get this done, the faster the process can start. And then, they can move on.
So I'll share one other thing that comes up sometimes is now when offers come in, and even though we talked about, what the objective was, what the goal is price-wise and move out, the date to sell the house, sometimes one party at that point doesn't want to cooperate. In other words, they don't want to sign the offer. They want, a house is worth 600,000, and they say, no, I'm not going to settle. This is way too low. I think it should be 650, and but they're just trying to delay the process because they agreed to sign the paperwork, they agreed to move forward to put it for sale, but somewhere during the process they don't want to cooperate anymore. So those are things that do happen, and the other party usually is disappointed. Both of them need to agree. We need 2 signatures on the agreement of purchase and sale. So that's another hurdle that comes into play sometimes.
So when you were talking about lawyers, so lawyers are involved. When it comes to selling the house, do they just need your opinion of value to determine how much is it worth, or?
Yeah, no. So usually the lawyer is going to, sometimes often they recommend to each have their own opinion, and they suggest a certified appraiser.
Okay.
So someone who's licensed that could tell them what the value of the property is. And I strongly recommend that. I go through the same process as a certified appraiser. However, if they both have someone that are working for them, it makes a lot of sense. And what I do in those situations, I encourage them. I actually pay for each of their appraisals, and I tell them, I don't need to know who they are. Just make sure they have a certification. Ask the lawyer for names and order an appraisal, and they both do, and then we analyze that, and we compare it to my opinion of value, and we go from there.
So why do you do these things where you would offer this extra thing, like the appraisal, or like if they're just trying to keep the house, but one gives it to the other? Earlier you said you'll do that for free and just help people out. Why do you go to that level of wanting to help?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. One of them is self-serving, and because if they're calling another realtor, for example, to get another opinion, well, the issue there is, let's say the house is worth 600,000, and the other realtor tells them, they share that with the other realtor that I said it's worth 600,000. Not saying that this happens, but I've seen it happen, unfortunately, where the other realtor, no, they want.
They'll say it's worth more.
It's worth more.
That
so,
way
they really want the listing, and they'll say it's worth 640.
Yeah, okay.
But it's not worth 640 because I did the research properly and we looked at everything. Now, if they want to ask 640, I'm fine asking 640 or 650. It's just I want them to work with the real numbers, and so they understand it. So this way, if I'm paying $500 for each appraisal, that's $1,000. It makes sense for me financially because then they're getting 2 unbiased professional opinions, and those guys should be guys or girls.
You're saving everyone as many problems as possible.
That's right.
Through the process. Yeah. Okay, that does make sense. Yeah. Now we're in the technicality of it all, right? So we've been just talking about steps and how to do things, but outside of all of that, is there anything that you would want to tell to these people who are going through this that could maybe help them out through the process? I'm not saying do this step or whatnot, but think of your kids. No, it's just it is a very emotional thing. What could you tell somebody who's going through a divorce?
Well, the person who's decided, make sure that, that's really what they want. And the other person, if the partner is telling them that's, they really want to move forward with this, sometimes, they'll be in denial. I'd say, well, at some point they'll have to accept it because it's the reality. Hopefully some of the people, they may want to talk to a marriage counselor to try to work things out. But often when they call me, it's beyond that point. And so those are things. The children, where people are going to move after they sell. One of the services I offer, and all realtors offer this, I would say, before they even sell their house or put it on the market, take a look at what else is available, to buy or to rent, and what will their life look like after the sale is done. And look at all those different factors.
And to finish things off, I didn't warn you about this, but like the surprise thing, what would be your tip of the day for people looking to sell their house?
People that want to sell their house.
Yeah. quick little tip of the day.
Call me.
The best tip ever. Okay, well, thank you, Michel. The information is valuable. And just a reminder that it is a difficult situation. If you want the process to be easier, just try to find a neutral third party to help you through the process. And that can be someone else, or it could be the experts here at Team Brissette. We would love to help you out.